All right, guys. So today I want to give an update on how my senior year is going. Spoiler alert: nothing ever happens, which is a common theme, in my life, especially when it comes to school and I guess important milestones of my youth. And it's getting particularly brutal because it's my senior year. It's the last year of school, really the last year of anything that you could call childhood. And at this point in time, I have really just missed out on so many developmental milestones and so many just experiences that I feel are normal. And, what do I have to show for it? Nothing. Nothing fucking happened. It feels like, the last time I think I had any real friends at my school, like for a long period of time was in elementary school. For a short period in ninth grade, I did have some friends, but that all fell apart in 10th grade. By the end of 10th grade, or by the end of ninth grade, or no, the start of 10th grade, you know they weren't really friends anymore. We had just drifted apart. The same thing happened in middle school before the pandemic. I had one friend, I'll call him Dale, and I just remember pandemic hit, we never really texted, we never communicated, and once school got back in session, that was it. I've never gone to a party, like a real party. Maybe I've gone to like a birthday party, but not like a real party. I've never done anything with a girl, like ever. Um, I've never really done a lot of fun things. I've never really done a lot of fun things, I guess. Or interesting things, right? I don't need to be, doing everything and, being with, 10 different Giga at one time, going, I just wish I could do some fun things. And, very occasionally, I do hang out with some friends that I have outside of school, but, that's like very occasionally. Like, seriously, like maybe a couple times a year. And, yeah, I just feel I've missed out on so much and it's already all coming to an end, right? And even though I've missed out on so much, I still think I'm really going to miss it. I am pretty melancholy, pretty sad about it, thinking about how this is my literally last year of high school. And then that's it. I'm off to college. Once you're off to college, that's it. Your childhood is over. Um Once, you graduate high school, the last day you step in that building, your childhood is done, right? And I don't know. It's pretty hard to cope with. I don't really want to be done with high school. Because even though, especially my high school years and my middle school years for that matter have been very uneventful, basically every part of my childhood, excluding like a year after fifth grade, has just been very, very uneventful. Like I haven't really had any friends. I haven't really done any fun activities or made any like experiences or memories. Actually, no, that's not true. In ninth grade is the exception, but that's it. Besides for ninth grade, I never really I did anything, right? I just kind of sat by myself, came home to, the house and just did shit by myself or with my family. I never really talked to many people. I never really had a group of friends. Outside of ninth grade and elementary school, again, no fun stuff, no friends, really. Maybe I talk to people every once in a while, but no like serious connection with anybody. No memories being made, except for like personal memories, right? Things that like would be outside of school. Like, I don't know, if you get your appendix removed and, that's kind of traumatic. Like, that'd be a personal memory. But like, besides for something like that, like, no real like memories. You know what I mean? And yeah, again, as I said, even though nothing really ever happens, I'm still going to miss it. I don't really know why. I think part of the reason is, yeah, nothing ever happens. But like, if we're just talking about my high school in particular, I never really got bullied. I never really got mistreated. There were a couple times, throughout both high school and middle school that people were definitely rude or mean to me, but it was never like a consistent thing. Like I never really got bullied. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if some guy insults you and never insults you again, he just walks up to you, he does something rude to you, he insults you, he steals something from you, and then like he never does it again. Like I guess that's kind of but it's not really bullying. Like it's not like a long-term repeated action. You know what I mean? There's no coercion. Like I never really got bullied. And so yeah, nothing ever happens, but it's not like, I mean it could have just been only bad stuff happens. Lots of stuff happens, but it's all bad. So, I guess I'm at least thankful that no really bad stuff happened, that I never got bullied, that I never, got beat the fuck up, that I never, was just completely and just totally humiliated. There have definitely been times like where like bad stuff happened, but I was never really consistently bullied or, made a fool out of or jester maxed at all. Like never really was a thing. And if I ever did stuff like that was jester maxing ish, like I wasn't doing it to be funny. I was just doing it because I'm a weird person and I just do weird things sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I honestly have to be honest. Like I think a lot of the blame lies on myself, because I cannot be a neurotypical person. I just, again, a lot of the time, especially like before like 10th grade, I was just a weird kid. I would just do weird things. And I feel like it socially isolated me and kind of poisoned the well. You know what I mean? Obviously, I don't think that's the only reason, but I think that's a big reason. And I think it definitely has to do with the fact that there's no way I'm neurotypical. And like, I mean that. I feel like a lot of people say, like, oh, I'm not neurotypical, but I feel like you can kind of just tell in like the way they talk and stuff. But that's like a topic for another time. But yeah, I want to talk about more how I miss it, and why. Because I'm, they're, obviously the people there, because even though, I never really talked to them, I'm still going to miss them. I don't really know why, but I just am. I guess I'm just familiar with anything, but I'm also going to miss my one-itis. I figure this is the video I'm finally going to mention her, introduce her into the, the story. But yeah, I'm going to miss my one-itis too. I think about her. I think definitely a large part of why I'm so sad is because I'm kind of alone. Like, I don't really have anybody to go through it with, right? I feel like, especially like this school year, it's been kind of blackpilling. Like, during the summer, like, when you're just doing shit, walking out on like the street outside your house, and, the only people you really interact with is your family or strangers or, your friends, you don't really get a lot of blackpilling experiences. I never really felt that lonely this summer, but, now that I'm back in high school one, I'm getting some more black pilling experiences. Like, today, for example, I had to watch this Chad, and, no hate to him, but I just remember watching this, like, pretty attractive guy. I'd put him in Chad tier. And I just remember watching, like, a bunch of girls in this class. They didn't, like, worship him, but I just noticed, like, how they kind of orbited around him, and ignored me. I mean, to be fair, I think that if any other guy were in the class, as long as he was like a mid-tier normie or above, maybe even low-tier normie, they would have interacted with him. But you can sense it in like their body language and stuff. Like him being Chad, like definitely like heavily amplified it. I think I'm just very, very like, socially isolated. So when Chad, interacts with people, I kind of like, obviously, his looks are helping with it, especially with like a woman. But, other people, the same type of thing happens where they'll mog me in like a social aspect, even if they're not like very good looking at all. Because again, they have, a normal brain, their social skills are developed, which is another thing I want to talk about. Because I feel like my social skills are extremely behind because I've been so isolated for so long, right? Like outside of ninth grade, like I really didn't have any like legitimate social connections that were like real and deep. I don't need to not like a person who, were super good, but just somebody who I would hang out with outside and inside of school consistently with. Like that never happened, right? Not even in ninth grade, like again, like I never really hung out with any of my, any of the friends I had in ninth grade very much outside of school, right? It was always like it was a pretty rare thing. Actually, no, that's not true. That's not true. I did hang out out with them outside of school a lot, but like it was usually like after school, especially near the end of ninth grade. Like it really fell apart. Probably not even all of ninth grade, maybe like 3/4 of it I had friends. But again, like besides for ninth grade, I basically had like zero social connection, right? In middle school, like I didn't really have any, friends I can remember. Like people who legitimately were friends, not people like I would talk to in a class, like every time I had the class, but we didn't really give a shit about each other. Like legitimate friends, not people who would die for me, just people who like care about you, who have like a legitimate connection with you, who hang out with you outside of school and in school, you know what I mean, who you can feel comfortable going up to and talking to. And yeah, like I just haven't had any of that. And so I feel like I'm just so behind. And it's to a point where I feel like I can't interact with people. I just like I I'm nervous as fuck, no matter who I'm talking to, and yeah, like I just can't hold a normal conversation. And I feel like it's this self-perpetuating cycle where bad social skills leads to less social connection, which leads to bad social skills. There are a lot of like self-perpetuating cycles like that, not just with people, but with like nations, armies, businesses, everything. Where if one thing goes wrong, it makes it easier to go wrong, and it just self-perpetuates and spirals out of control. But yeah, back to my one-itis. I kind of also want to introduce her in this video because I did say I'm gonna miss her a little bit. I'm thinking like again, this is the last time I'm ever gonna quote unquote be with her, as if I ever like really talked to her or hung out with her at all. It's pretty pathetic. But again, like I'm not just gonna pretend like I don't, think about her a lot, because I have a really bad case of one-itis. Like it's really bad. Like really fucking bad. And yeah, if you guys have any solutions, any like remedies and medicines, any prescriptions for one-itis, I'd be happy to hear them. I don't know. I saw her wearing like a shirt for a college, and like again, like it just crossed my mind, like, oh, maybe I should go to that college. I don't know. I have no idea where she'll go. By the time I find out, like I will have already probably decided where I'm going to college. So yeah. Imagine if me and her just go to the same college by like chance. That'd be pretty fucking funny, I can't lie. I can always like go on Instagram and just see where she is. You know, even if I don't go to the same like school as her. Eventually though, her Instagram is gonna get taken down. I could probably find her on LinkedIn if she ever gets like a job. Fuck, that's crazy, dude. But like, yeah, she doesn't like me. I've never like simped for her, so that's good. But yeah, like my one-itis is pretty bad. Like I think about her way too often. Like I don't know what the fuck it is. Yeah, the one-itis is pretty bad. And so yeah, I'm gonna miss her. I know that sounds cooked, but I have to get it on. Like I have to be honest with you guys. I'm kind of gonna miss the people, even though I never really interacted or had a connection with a lot of them. I'm still gonna miss them. I think I'm gonna just miss high school, and I don't want it to end because again, I don't have anybody to go through this shit with. In college, it's gonna be way harder to interact. Like you're gonna be in a dorm all day. When you go to lectures in college, like it's gonna be a massive room of 150 people where you're gonna sit randomly every single time, right? And everyone's just gonna be dead silent taking notes while the teacher just yaps. Then you're gonna go back to your dorm, and that's about it. If you're gonna go to the dining hall, there are no periods. You don't have periods where someone's in the same period as you every single day, and you have an opportunity to see them literally every day. No, it's not like that. I mean, I guess they'll have the same class, but they can sit anywhere they want, right? And there are so many people in the class, and not all colleges, but a good amount of them that you realistically you might not like never sit with them again. And so it's just going to be so much more difficult, and I just feel like I'm going to be very lonely in college. Even after college, like, what am I gonna do? Especially kind of where I want to move. Like, I don't really want to live in a big city. Like, I want to live in a more rural area, definitely. And like, if I'm living in like, I don't know, what's a good example town? Like fucking, I don't know. Like, let's say I'm living in like rural Appalachia, right? Not the nicest place. I mean, it could be any rural area. Why am I giving an example? Like, I just feel like it's gonna be like I'm just gonna be living in like a house in the woods, like Ted Kaczynski, and like, how the fuck are you gonna interact with people? Like, even like online dating, even if you're Chad, like, unless you're like legit Chad, like, you're never getting anything. Like, you're in the middle of fucking North Dakota. Who is on an online dating app who's your age in North Dakota? Fucking nobody, dude. Nobody. So how's that gonna work? You know what I mean? It's just not. So yeah, I'm just, I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Who knows? I'm hoping maybe something can happen this year, but again, my track record for 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, and 11th grade, and like parts of ninth grade, and basically every summer has just been nothing ever happens. So yeah, you know what I mean? Uh, I think there's definitely a good chance it'll repeat itself and continue in college. It just feels like you're waiting for these milestones and you think they're gonna happen, but they're not. I think I've come to terms. I haven't come to terms, but I think I'm like okay accepting that I kind of am an incel, like by the literal definition. Um, I don't know. I'd say like I gotta wait till I'm 18, maybe 19. I don't know. But yeah, like I do feel like if I had somebody to go through this with, like it would make it so much less scary, going to college, the last year of high school. And I never had that childhood love, I forget what, teen love, that's what they call it. And, none of that stuff, teen love or experiences or, childhood, love or experiences. And it just feels like it passed me by and I missed my chance. I got a couple more years, but like once I'm 20, that's it, right? It's not a thing anymore. So yeah. I mean, obviously, like relationships aren't everything. I don't want to like sound like a coper, but you know, there are other things in my life that definitely make me happy, but I think I'd be a lot happier if I had a relationship. I don't know. To me, it does feel kind of arbitrary. Like, I know it impacts me mentally. Like, I wish I had one, but I just wish I didn't have to care about it. I wish I didn't have a requirement and I could just fucking be a robot and just fucking wake up and be alone and just be like, oh, this is fine. Because it just feels so cucked. Like, I need other people's validation. Like, it just feels cucked. I don't want that. And it just feels so arbitrary, too. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta fucking put my dick in some girl's vagina. That's the reason I'm unhappy. Unironically, it is, right? Like, it's just so like cocked. Like, why? You know what I mean? I don't know. I wish I could just be like a lone wolf, but humans are just not meant to operate that way. So yeah, nothing ever happens. Hopefully, something will happen this year. Thinking about prom. Wonder how that'll go. Probably won't go with the girl. Who knows? Maybe I'll ask out my Juanetas and we'll go, but probably not. She'll probably be like, nope, I'm going with Chad. I've actually never seen her with a guy, but you have no idea because a lot of these girls, like, you don't know. Like, I guarantee, like, a lot of them have, boyfriends. Like, I've been going on the college tours. I went on a lot of college tours this and last summer, and, like, I remember, like, a lot of the times, like, the female tour guides would always be like, oh, my boyfriend, my boyfriend. Even if they could be, like, no matter, like, the attractiveness level. The dudes, never my girlfriend, always. But, yeah. I also want to make a video on college soon and applications and shit. But yeah, hopefully next year or this year will be good because it's the last year. Once you're 18, once I'm 18, then I'm a legal adult and childhood is over. And once I'm like out of high school, then childhood is really fucking over. I'm gonna miss it. I wish I could go back. I wish I could be a young child again because I have missed out on a lot of experience. But I also do feel like childhood is just a very like, for me, especially like in elementary school, like before everything before fifth grade, like I had a pretty normal childhood. Like, you know, obviously I was still neurodivergent, but like it didn't really seem to impact me much. I have a bunch of stories I can tell about that, but like I had friends and I interacted with people. I remember I'd play Minecraft with my friends. I know that sounds kind of corny, but like I miss just being like a young kid, and just hopping on, Minecraft with the boys. Simpler times, man. Simpler times and better days. Like that Reddit song. All right, yeah, that's pretty much it. I gotta go now.